Hi, it's Nick with Run Testers, and this is our first run review of the Adidas Boston 10. So it's fair to say that Adidas has made a pretty substantial change to the Boston line with the release of the Boston 10. Boston used to be one of my favourite shoes in the kind of pre-super shoe era. That was kind of the shoe I really liked doing a lot of training in. I'd raced in it. A lot of my early PBs were in the Boston. And this is kind of the first time I've returned to the shoe in a few years, and it's obviously a huge difference. We're now talking max stack trainer right up to the kind of legal limit, you know, following the trend of kind of lots of other brands here and going for really high stack with some kind of fancy carbon or carbon-like tech in the midsole. Let's have a quick look at the key stats first. So it's going to cost £130 in the UK, $140 in the US. The price has stayed kind of the classic Boston price, which is good, although we'll see if it drops in sales as much as past Bostons used to. It's a bit heavier. It's 296 grams or 10.4 ounces in my UK size 9. As you can see where the weight is when you've got a big stack like this. A lot of rubber on the outsole as well. Fair amount of cush on the top of the shoe. The shoe has an 8.5mm drop. It's 39.5mm stack at the heel here, down to 31 at the front. Big high stack, as we were saying. The upper is a kind of slightly interesting thing. It's got a kind of translucent outer layer here, and then the tongue is almost an entire layer in itself. It's kind of a gusted tongue, but really trying to create kind of a sock-like fit. Reasonably breathable mesh thing. I worry that kind of two-layer system might make it a little bit hot at times. There's a little bit of extra reinforcement around the toe here with that kind of extra bit of fabric there, and then there's a decent amount of support around the heel there, and a fair bit of cushioning, some cushioning on the outside. Don't know why brands do that, but there's lots of kind of cushion on the inside there for a comfortable ride, even though the tongue itself isn't that padded. Kind of speaks to this for use as a kind of daily trainer. Good amount of cushion there. See, the midsole is the really exciting new stuff about the Boston 10 here. You've got the layer here of Lightstrike Pro frame on the top, and then a layer of Lightstrike EVA on the bottom. So Lightstrike Pro is the kind of soft bouncy stuff introduced in the Adios Pro shoes. I've seen somewhere it's a nitrogen infused TPU. I haven't managed to get any confirmation from Adidas on what Lightstrike Pro is yet. I can tell you that Lightstrike EVA is an EVA foam though, I can tell you that much. The idea is to create a bit of extra stability with that foam, you know, given the high stack, and also increase the lifespan of the shoe, since this is going to be billed as a kind of trainer rather than a pure racer. In terms of carbon and stuff in here, there's a plate underneath the heel here for extra stability, like a small kind of little carbon plate, and then there are EnergyRods in the shoe, just like in the Adios Pro. You can see them there, but these are kind of plasticky. I guess it's called it anatomically designed carbon technology, but I don't know if there's any carbon in the plastic or anything like that, but you know, that should make it slightly more flexible than a full carbon energy rod, but it's still a very stiff shoe, as you can see. All that kind of stack and the kind of plate here, and then the energy rods in the forefoot. So yeah, whole lot going on the midsole, and the outsole has got a fair bit going on as well. There's a lot of Continental rubber here. Adidas's kind of long-term partnership with Continental rubber has created a lot of very good outsoles in the past. There's a fairly decent amount of this on here. Should provide good grip. In fact, it does provide good grip. I can tell you that now. I went out in the rain in them today, and should hold up really well in terms of durability as well. So about to head out on my first run in the Adidas Boston 10. I'm just doing an easy hour today ahead of some big workouts over the weekend. I'll try and do a little bit of pickup to see how they feel at a bit of pace at some point in the run, but mostly it's going to be quite an easy run, see how these handle those kind of general training miles. I'm hoping they're going to be a really good, versatile, everyday trainer. Just put them on for the first time. The fit is pretty nice, actually, quite big. You know, the Boston always used to be quite a tight fitting shoe for me. It was kind of, you'd almost be tempted to half a size up, but these are a fair amount of room in the toe box. Had to do a bit of fiddling with laces to get a tight enough fit around the midfoot, but all seems good there. Certainly feels high. Big old stack here. I've been using the New Balance RC Elite all week to test that out, so that actually doesn't, the big stack doesn't really feel very different. But yeah, excited to get out there, do a kind of fairly easy run in them and see how they feel. So I am 5 miles in, very wet day, first run with the Boston. So far, not a huge amount to say, to be honest. Nothing's really standing out to me so far. They feel quite disconnected from the road. They are a big high stack. I've been using the RC Elite 2 all week, the New Balance shoe, and that feels really disconnected from the road, but it's very soft. These are much firmer. They're not like unpleasantly firm, but they're firmer, but you still don't feel a lot of road feel. Haven't done a lot of fast running. I kicked up for about 500 meters of just fairly pacey running to see what they felt like, and nothing changed too much. It's a firmer, quite responsive ride. It's nice, but it's
yeah, it's not really standing out to me in many ways. They grip really well. It's a very wet day. That Continental outsole is doing the job, and they don't feel at all unstable to me, which is interesting in such a high stack shoe. You know, the firmer foam beneath, even Lightstrike Pro, I think is a bit firmer than some of the super foams, and that is creating quite a stable ride. But yeah, 5 miles in, I'm gonna do another 3 or 4, just go home. And yeah, not loads to say. So I'm just home now, absolutely dripping wet. It's gone from a summer to winter here in the UK in the space of a day or two. So yeah, the shoe haven't left a huge impression on me after one run. Not necessarily in a bad way, like I quite enjoyed plodding around in them. Like I say, don't feel super soft, they don't feel super stiff or responsive. They just feel kind of fairly balanced, quite a nice balanced shoe, I guess you could say that. I think it's probably a shoe that you're gonna feel the benefit a bit more during a long week of training. We're using it every day and seeing maybe a bit more versatility. But yeah, when I kicked up the pace today, they didn't like spring into life or anything like that. There's not a lot of tip forward feeling with these shoes or anything like that. It's not a rocker, I guess. It's a fairly snappy transition when I was up at pace, but it's not like a very smooth one. Yeah, like I say, they're probably gonna be a fairly decent general all-rounder. But yeah, I've not finished that first run going, wow, like I loved every step there. And I've not finished that run saying I didn't like it. Like I said, I think they're quite disconnected. You don't feel a lot of the road under you. They're quite different from the original Boston like that. But, you know, which is the new high stack design, of course. But they're not soft, they're not springy. Yeah, it's hard to say what they are, in a way. But yeah, looking forward to doing some more running in them, hopefully get a bit more feel. I'm gonna try and do obviously some long, hard runs in them, and that always provides a slightly more telling insight. Obviously didn't have a chance today just because I've got a big workout tomorrow. So yeah, interested to do some more in them, but not a huge amount leaping out at me about the Boston 10 off that first run.
Obviously, there's only so much we can say in terms of comparisons after one run, but I wanted to give some early thoughts on that, seeing as I had not much to say about the actual shoe in the first run. I feel a bit bad, so I want to give some more info here on comparisons. In terms of other shoes in this area, the one that always stands out to me is the Saucony Endorphin Pro, which is a little bit more expensive, but has a nylon plate. That has a far kind of smoother, you know, the speed roll technology ride on that, and there is a kind of bit more softness to that foam as well. Slightly more natural feel to the ride of the Endorphin Speed, definitely more connected to the ground. A little bit pacier, I think, from my early impressions of the Boston 10. It's also a Hoka Mach 4, which I think is kind of billed well as a kind of versatile everyday trainer. That is softer and more comfortable than the Boston after one run, I'd say, and again smoother with a kind of rocker technology. Then there's the New Balance Rebel V2, which is really lightweight, certainly feels lighter than the Boston. The Boston doesn't feel very heavy on the foot, I will say that, but the New Balance feels really light. It's a bit softer, a bit mushier, kind of a bit more super foamy. A lot going on with that shoe that I'm still not sure how much I like it, but it is a really good shoe, I think it's fair to say. And then there's a Puma Deviate Nitro, which is a carbon plate training shoe. That certainly has more pop and a kind of more connected feel to the ride than the Boston 10. Probably going to end up being a bit of a faster shoe than that, although it does have the problem with heel chafing on the back, which this won't have, thanks to that nice amount of heel cushioning. So yeah, there's a few quick comparisons to shoes in this area. Full review will have a lot more on this and really give the Boston its kind of place in that kind of bracket of training shoes that have modern technology, modern foams, plates, EnergyRods, all that kind of jazz in them.
So guys, that's our quick first run review of the Boston. Obviously we'll have a lot more to say. We've done some more miles on them. I'm going to try and use them as much as I can over the next week or two and see where I kind of end up on them. But please like, subscribe, ring the little bell, and yeah, we'll see you next time.